Alright, let's see if this works. Um, Hello everybody, probably sometime in the future. Um, my name is Mike, and I am it's called Aspirational Minecraft Mod Maker. I released my first mod about a month and a half ago, and I've been working on a new mod ever since then. And I thought that it'd be kind of neat for us to sort of take a look behind the curtain and see what does it mean to make a mod? What does it mean um, for Minecraft mods? Like, what does it look like? What does the code look like? What does the process look like? And I thought that maybe I would give that a shot and sort of stream it out to people. Um, this is a mod that's not released yet. I've not announced it. I've not shown it to anybody. It's maybe about halfway done. It's definitely not ready for prime time. But you know, consider this like a peek behind the curtain for something that's going to come out hopefully in the near future, couple weeks maybe. Um, so the gist of this mod, while Minecraft is loading, is it's called Megacorp, and the idea is that in a normal modded Minecraft installation, you have a situation where eventually you sort of get everything. You have a bunch of resource miners, you have like void ore miners, you have infinite power, basically. Um, and you basically have so much stuff you don't know what to do with it. And there's nothing to use it on. And even if you come up with some crazy plan, you're not gonna, it's not gonna, you know, you don't get anything for doing it. Just to use resources to say you use them. And so Megacorp is designed so that you can basically have a resource sink for these resources. And like, so it'll basically generate quests for you, and you can fill those quests and get rewards for doing that. I don't have rewards built in just yet, but I do have the first couple parts. And so let's take a quick peek at that, and then we'll actually get into some of the stuff that I'm working on. So this setup is a bit of a mess, but one of the primary components to this mod is this fluid called money, and money is a liquid representation of the currency you are generating through this mod. Um, there's two ways to get it currently. The first is that you can use what's called a small business simulator, which I don't have any currently. Do I have one? I do. So you take the small business simulator, and this is sort of going to be like the root of like where everything starts. You put down a small business simulator, and you basically feed it gold and emerald, and it turns it into money for you. The conceit here is that your small business, this is like a proto corporation that's taking this money, this gold and emerald being, of course, a currency commonly used by villagers and such, and turning it into liquid assets. And so you do a bunch of that until you get a full bucket of money. And then you use the bucket of money to craft I don't have the recipe in yet, but you use the bucket of money to craft the Megacorp uplink, whose GUI is currently broken because I was testing something, in development. The Megacorp uplink lets you actually establish the corporation. As you can see up here, using the one probe, you can see I have a business called Icy Wind Limited, and you can change that to whatever you want. It's customizable. Once you have that, then you can create other missions that are linked to this. The profit materializer is the other way you produce money, which is that it takes money that you've earned through the corporation and materializes it into actual liquid. which is currently happening here. I have $35,000, and it's being generated into here just for storage purposes. You will then later take that money and pipe it into the capital investor, which currently does not have a GUI at all or any functionality. But eventually, you'll pipe it into here and spend the money you created on upgrades. Some of these upgrades are going to be things for the corporation, like faster profit generation or like more profit for quests, stuff like that. I haven't really nailed that down yet, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. This block here, the shipping depot, and there's going to be a couple of variations of this, but the shipping depot is kind of where you're going to be spending most of your time with this mod. Basically, it generates quests. Let's get rid of this stuff temporarily. But basically, I have a quest here called Let Them Eat Cake, and if we mouse over it, there's a fluff description here. And it wants cakes. It wants 3,768 cakes, of which I provided 873. And if I feed this cake in, 874. And you can see how that goes. I think I was stress testing here, which is why I think I've got an infinite cache here of cake and stuff that's just feeding in here all the time. But basically, the number of times you've completed this particular quest is indicated here, 37. And each time you complete it, then the number goes up and for the next one. And the amount of profit you generate depends on how many levels you've done. The more levels you've done, the more profit you'll get for doing it. If I can regenerate the quest a couple times here. I can see, like here, cow tippers need some leather. I've only completed this 9 times, and so there's much less leather required. And if I were to complete this, then we see that it's done, and I can make a new work order. I'm not going to get into all the details of what all these buttons do just yet, because I'm not sure if this is exactly how this is going to work forever. But basically, part of it is for automation. If I hit that, then every time I complete a quest, it'll generate a new one in place. Like so. Yeah, it generated a new quest for me. This one will always make it repeat the same quest over and over again. If you want to, and so later on you're probably going to have automation, and that's going to be very useful because you're going to like hook up this quest to like a mob farm or something, and you'll just feed all your bones into this machine because you probably won't have much else to do with them, which is kind of the point of this mod. That's the major stuff here. There's some other features I haven't really talked about, but hopefully that's the gist of this mod. And so, having done that, I guess it's time to actually start getting to the creation part. Right now, what I'm working on, and I kind of regret starting this in the middle of development rather than the beginning, because this doesn't really make sense. But right now, this is completely random, what you get here. Every time you hit the new quest button, I only have a handful of quests in right now at all, but every time it's going to be completely random what you get. And I would rather, and I'm thinking about creating a interface to let you sort of pick a quest rather than just the system picking for you, because ideally, at the end of the day, there could be hundreds of quests in here. And the idea is that there's going to be a lot of mod integrations, there'll be a bunch of vanilla quests, but also maybe like thermal expansion adds a bunch of materials and liquids and stuff, and like copper and bronze and stuff like that. It has all these coins somewhere in here that have no particular use. Yeah, like all these guys. And I would like to create quests for some of those. So there's gonna be a lot of quests, and if you're looking for a specific one, and you just have to keep hitting random until you get the right one, maybe that's not such a great idea. I hadn't really thought about this when I was setting this all up. And so, I'm going to start working on that. The UI system, I should note, if anybody is eventually watching this who is not super technical, hopefully I'll explain the stuff I'm doing, but there is going to be a lot of code. You can see the editor in the background here. That's not going away. That's where I'm going to be spending most of my time here. I apologize if that's not really what you're looking for, but that is what I'm working on. We'll later on. I might also, I don't know what I'm really doing with this channel. I might do regular streaming game stuff. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But for now, we're talking about actual coding. So the UI system in Minecraft is kind of funky. It's very, very real time, immediate. Like, you're literally drawing primitives to your UI to make things happen. And because this mod is going to be so heavy with the UI, there's a lot of stuff I want to do with the UI. I sort of created my own UI layer on top of that, which is good and bad. It's good because it's bad because I'm sort of sidestepping. Like, these buttons here are not native. These buttons here are not native Minecraft buttons. These are my buttons that I created from scratch. And so I had to create them all from scratch, which is not great for usability. Or at least Mojang created these buttons already. Why aren't I using them? The good part for me writing all my own UI stuff is that I can make these behave the way I want. These are toggles, not buttons, not regular push buttons. This is a regular push button, but these are toggles, which are completely custom. The thing I was testing over here is that, and of course I've disabled it. I can turn it back on to show you. Give me 1 second here. If I uncomment all this stuff, then we take a look back over here, then we see that this text label is now bouncing around the screen. That was this clipping that's happening here to keep it from drawing out of bounds. That's hard to do normally, and I had to write a bunch of code to make that happen. And now that I've written that code in my own UI layer, I can now create a control that will have that behavior baked in without having to write that every single time. And that's all this OpenGL stuff that I'm not an expert in OpenGL. I know just enough to be dangerous, because OpenGL is kind of complicated, but hopefully it's not gonna be a big problem. Which reminds me, let me, just for the sake of completeness, where is my GUI proxy? Here it is. Just for the sake of completeness, let me put the regular GUI back in for the uplink also. And this is what it normally looks like here. And you can change this to whatever you want. Like, or whatever. And that'll show up on anything else that's linked to this corporation. Now, I guess since I just showed it off a couple times, one thing that's kind of neat is that you can actually change this code and without having to restart Minecraft, you can just sort of recompile it and hot load it in. And I think that's kind of neat. That's not something you can do in a lot of other languages. You can't. It's not completely like I'm only changing a little bit of inline code here. If I add a new method or change a class, like made a major change to a class or something, I would have to restart. But if you're just changing the contents of a method, then generally it's pretty good. Anyway, so that's all that said. Let me put my test UI back in place. All right. So the control. So right now, all that to say that I'm in the middle of writing a control to put a list in. If you've used probably any application ever, you're familiar with the idea of a list. Like for iOS, for example, iOS list, you know what that looks like. Like this is a list. These the settings app is based on lists and stuff like that. I want my own list control so that I can make a list of quests in my mod. And that's why I was building this whole clipping thing, is because the list is not going to be just 4 items or whatever that will fit into the UI here. It's going to be everything. It's going to be a long list, and you need to be able to scroll through that and stuff. I have an idea of how we're going to implement that, because when I'm building this list, I also want to make it hopefully generic enough to use in any place that I need a list-like object, but also customizable enough that I can make it look like whatever I need to make it look like at the given time. Like for example here, these list items here and here, they look somewhat similar, but this has an icon and a little bit of offset for the text, whereas these ones don't have offsets. This one has a value in line, whereas this one has little arrows to show that there's a submenu, that kind of thing. There's a bunch of different customization I want to do, and I don't necessarily want to hard code all those options in to the control. I want it to be a little bit flexible. I've done a little bit of iOS. I've done some iOS work, more than a little bit, less than a lot of it. I've done some, and so I know roughly how iOS implements their list from an API perspective. I'm going to try and do something similar here, where basically the list is going to be responsible for managing the list itself, but you're going to be able to feed code in to say how to draw each individual list item and how to handle each individual, like if I click on it, what happens, if I scroll, what happens, that kind of thing. And so that's what we're going to do here. Pardon me. I was doing a little bit of graphics for this, because there's also going to need to be a scroll bar control, and so I have some items here for that. I have a generic piece of code that will take a graphic like this and draw it arbitrarily sized. So like this could be a big rectangle like size like that, and it'll sort of put the corners in the corner and then stretch the middle part out, if that makes sense. And so this is going to be the graphic for the scroll bar. It's probably going to be a lot like this normally, and then it's going to put the up and down buttons at the top and bottom, and then the nub in the middle is going to be what you have to click to drag to make it scroll. You know, like a standard Windows scroll bar, like this, right? I think that's done. I think it's time to just get into it. So in your mod, you're going to want to have a bunch of different packages for stuff. All my GUI stuff. This is not necessarily the best layout, but I have all my GUI stuff inside the GUI package underneath my main mod package, and inside that, I have a package for control. And control is all my generic controls, like my labels and my images and my fluid displays and stuff like that. Outside that are the specific ones. Like here's the GUI for the profit condenser, which I didn't talk about, but don't worry about that. Here's the GUI for the uplink. Here's the GUI for the test, which is what I'm currently working on. These are where I specify all the different controls I use, like here, and then put them onto the screen. I basically say, hey, add this specific control to this container, and then the drawing of that happens automatically. So I don't have to worry about that. The control itself needs to worry about how to draw itself, which happens like in a draw method, obviously. This guy has a list of its own controls inside of it that it draws. It basically draws them without having to worry about what they are. Anyway, so that said, what we're going to do is we're going to create our list control. So make a new control, GUI list. We're going to make it inherit from the GUI scroll port. The scroll port? No, we're going to make it from the clip sized control. With the GUI, so the root of my GUI hierarchy, of my control hierarchy, starts with the GUI control, which adds a whole bunch of basic stuff that every single control is going to. Everyone's going to need X and Y position. Everyone's going to need to know whether they're enabled or visible, and a whole bunch of other stuff. This doesn't impose the idea of size, which is, I don't know if that was a good choice or not. I have a second control, GUI sized, that inherits from GUI control and just adds width and height to it. And then some common stuff that relies on actually having a full bounding box. Like this is where I add tooltips, so that I can always put in a tooltip like this to anything that has size. And the reason for that is because I need to mouse over it into this bounding box in order to show the tooltip. So if the control doesn't have a size, then it can't know if the mouse is inside of it. And then GUI clipped size inherits from GUI sized, and also says that you're not allowed to draw outside of the bounding box. A GUI sized, this guy, if I inherit from this, I can draw whatever I want anywhere on the screen, and there's no restrictions on that. The clip size says no, you can only draw inside this box. And the reason that's useful is that, I'll just show you here. If I were to, let's say that this was my bounding box. Let's say that this is my bounding box, right? Let's make that a more visible color. So this is my bounding box, let's say. And if I draw something like this, oops. If I draw something like this, come on. If I were to draw this normally, then I could draw wherever I want, and that's maybe bad, because there might be other controls over here. And also, maybe it looks ugly. But by having a clip, then I can make sure it only draws inside the bounding box, which Photoshop handily calls the clipping mask, which is basically exactly what I'm going for. Although my thing's not a mask, it's just a rectangle. But it's the same idea. If I draw this outside this box, it's going to clip it and only draw the part that's inside the box, which is good for a list, which is going to have a bunch of items like this stacked on top of each other. I don't want the whole thing to show up. I don't want it to show up I don't want it to show up like this. I want it to show up like this, so that you can scroll properly, right? So our list is going to inherit from clipped sized for that reason. I know that I'm going to need to provide a draw method, because GUI control is abstract. It does not provide a draw method. It demands that you provide a draw method. Again, maybe that you might have control that does not require being visible. Haven't really thought about that, if that's necessary. So far, it has not been necessary. So everyone has a draw method. We're going to implement that. To do implement. To provide constructor, because Java does not let you have, because of Java. I don't really want, I'm not going to get into the nuance of Java. If you don't know Java, this is not going to be a good stream for you. I probably should have said that up front. Or, I mean, I guess still kind of, it might be interesting, but I'm not going to explain Java. I'll explain Minecraft stuff and my stuff. I'm not going to explain Java stuff. Why you need a constructor like this. Partly because I don't really know the rules. I'm mostly used to C#, where I would not need to add this, because I'm not doing anything in this constructor. other than calling the super constructor. Here, I do need to create it explicitly. Whatever. Neither here nor there. I am going to add stuff to it, so I do need to create it anyway, but still, it's annoying that it wants it up front. Anyway. So, right now, though, this list is basically, right now it's a functional control. I can go to our test UI over here, and I'm going to replace this scroll port, which is mostly a test concept of the clipping sized control, and add a GUI list instead. New GUI list, and I should have saved. I need all this other stuff. Okay, and we'll rename that to list. Just do it. And so all this code is not relevant anymore. We don't need that, and I guess we don't need that. Now, I can't preview. Minecraft is still running. I can't preview that because I created a new class here, so I can't do that. So I'll have to restart. I'm not going to restart it just yet though, because I'm going to add a little bit more to this. Because if right now it's just going to show up as an empty screen, and that's not super interesting. Let's go ahead and add a color for the background. Background color, and that'll default to black. Why black? I'm not sure. I might change that. I'm going to add another color. I'm going to call this border color and make that white. I guess what I'm thinking of a control. I'm thinking of another UI in Minecraft somewhere that is black with white lists. It might be Draconic Evolution I'm thinking of. That might be it. Whatever. I'm a programmer first and foremost, a designer distant second. So we'll see what happens. Or am I going to actually, hang on, no, sorry, I'm not going to do this. I lied. Drawing regular colors is not useful here because I need to provide a texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this texture that I've already created, which is black with a white outline. That's going to be drawn, stretched to the correct size. So what we're going to do is, okay. I'm sure that you've heard if you know what a texture is, then you can zone out for a couple moments. I will explain that. For everybody else, a texture is a graphic. And the graphics, so this image here is a texture. And this image here, which is the background for one of the other GUIs, is another texture. And you always, whenever you're drawing graphics, you're probably dealing with a texture of some kind. In Minecraft, a texture is referred to using a resource location. And what that is the resource location is a class that says where to find that texture. And all resources in Minecraft are namespace to your mod or to Minecraft itself. And that basically tells it, like, when I'm, okay, I don't need that because I already have. I have a reference to that, to the texture. This texture is called the MISC texture, and this is where I'm throwing a bunch of common control stuff. And I already have a reference to it here in my util class. My MISC resources here. And so this is saying that whenever someone wants to get to my MISC resources, go to the Megacorp mod and look in the texture/GUI/MISC.png file. And that's what that means. So what we're going to start with is draw a background that matches the size of our background. And so GUI util has a bunch of common drawing stuff that is, not Like, I don't want to have to rewrite the code to draw a button everywhere, because this is used in a lot of places. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that draw from this dot x to this dot y, this dot width, and this dot height. The source pixel, so it wants to the top left corner of this, which is 16 by 16, which you can see right here when I mouse over it. Top left corner is 16 by 16. So 16 by 16. I have a couple other versions of this function that accept, like, it knows that by default the size of this whole this is 16 by 16 also. These are all 16 by 16 because they're all designed to be drawn with this function. For this one, I gotta just tell it 8 by 8 because obviously 16 by 16 is way too big. And I have other versions of this function that will accept that. I also need to tell it to use that MISC texture. So bind texture GUI util MISC resources. That. Now, when I run it, oops, wrong button. Now when I run it, it's going to show a black box where this control is going to be. And we'll just pause for a moment as it loads. If you're into modern Minecraft, you're probably used to this screen taking a long time to load. It's not so bad when you only have one mod installed. I have a couple others. Ender.io, you add Ender.io and that adds like 11 mods. Thermal expansion adds like 4. But that makes it take a little bit longer, but still not too bad. Preferably, I do prefer to not restart as many times as I can because it does add up after a while. Which is nice when you're just working on like a single method and trying to figure out why is this method broken? Why isn't it drawing correctly? Because I can tweak it here and recompile without reloading the whole thing, and that's really handy. Yeah. All right. And here we go. All right. So this is not where I wanted to show up. So let's take a look and double check. I mean, these are hard to get wrong. X, Y, width, and height. That's pretty standard. Did I make it wrong over here? X, Y. The X is 10. 10 should be like here. So why is that wrong? That's like, it's actually drawing like 20. And 20 should be like here. And it's actually drawing like 40. So that means that, oh, that's right. This is wrong. It should be 0, 0. Yeah, that's right. That's better. And also, you'll note that here, the border, it's hard to see. The border is gray instead of white. That's because there's another, this is something I might be able to fix globally. I just never got around to it. But you have to say white. You have to tell it to draw. I'm not really sure what this function is in OpenGL, but basically, like I could set this to red, and that would make it red, but I want it to be white. And now it's white. Okay, so, pardon me. That's that's the basics of our list control. I'm going to go ahead and commit that because I like to not make a whole lot of changes at once without. That's not true. I often make a bunch of unrelated changes. In this case, though, I'm going to be a good programmer. Why? What's going on here? Why am I dropping frames? Bear with me just one moment. Well, this sucks. I'm going to be right back. I don't know if you hear me, but I'm going to quickly pause the stream and figure